Okay, so let's get started with Chapter 2 lab. The first lab was more of an orientation with what your capacity is, what you can achieve with ArcPro, and how you can make a quick map. In this one, the purpose of the lab is to orient you more towards what ArcPro is, what it does, and what the capacity is, and what all the things mean. I realize I kind of oriented you a little bit in the last instructional video with some of the parts of ArcPro, which they go over in this chapter, so I won't repeat all of that as we work through the lab. So I'm going to start on page 22, opening a project. I've already opened up ArcGIS Pro, so we don't have to sit through watching it open on my computer, which is so fun. So we're here on opening a project, and before we actually move on forward, I want to quickly show you how to access the data if you haven't already done it. And I'll just take you through the whole process that I went through. So in order to access the data for this whole book, we have to go to the website for the publisher, which you can see here is pactpub.com. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the screen, I realize that's not all the way in the recorded area, you see support home. You click on that. It takes you to this where you want code downloads. You click on the hyperlink for go to code downloads. You search the title. Mapping with ArcGIS Pro shows up right there. You click on it and you go down to the bottom. So if you would normally just do this and download it, but if you go down a little farther, you see errata, which is additions that have been made to the data since the publication has happened. It says that the files have been updated and they're available on GitHub. So we're going to copy this link here. So highlight it, Control C, open a new tab, insert. It takes you directly to where all of the new data is. So you just go to this green button here and you click download zip. It'll take you through a couple of other steps. It will make you register, which is fine. And you just download the information. It will take a while to download. It is data for the whole book. So give it some time. It will take maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And then once you have it downloaded, this is something I had to learn the hard way, you have to unzip the file, of course, and I recommend unzipping it to a known location that you always send your data to, but you then have to go back into the files, individual chapter files, and unzip everything in those files because there's more data within them that has to be unzipped. And you'll need to do that for this chapter. Okay, so with that said, we'll go back to the instructions here. It says on page 22, on this opening screen, select Open Another Project. So down here on the left. And in this case, it says go from the folder where you installed the sample data and select Getting Started. So in my case, mine is in my cartography folder on my desktop, and I have it under, I moved things around here. Okay, I have it under GitHub, Mapping with ArcGIS Pro Master. I'm going to open the chapter 2 and Getting Started data. And I'm just going to make sure, sorry, it's actually Getting Started data too. So I double click. And here we have the file, the APRX file, which is the ArcPro file. And you can see it's called Getting Started. So we're going to just highlight it and click OK. And it's going to open it up. One thing you want to just double check here is that you have the same tabs it shows in the picture. So if you look at the picture on page 23, you have one that says, actually it doesn't show the exact same thing. Okay, so as I was saying, we're connected to the data through a catalog that we established at the very beginning when we opened up the lab. But one thing that I noticed when I did this lab a couple of times is that it just didn't replicate. I couldn't replicate exactly what was happening in the book. So what I'm going to show you here is a way to achieve what happens in this lab, for the most part, with a couple of workarounds. It might go smoothly for you, just like it does in the book, but in case this happens, I show you a few things that you can do to try and work around it. So as you can see, I have red exclamation points next to each of these layer files. That means the data is not properly connected to the file itself. So in order to fix that, first we're going to try to do US state. So we right click, go down to properties at the bottom of that pop-up. We select source from the list on the left hand side, and we can see this is where the data is located. So we're going to highlight shapefile, see that URL there. I'm going to set the button up above that says set data source. And it's already established where the data source is coming from, but you might actually have to go through, if you were to do this, and work through exactly where that data is. So in this case, this is the US states file. I find the US states shapefile, click on it, click OK, hit OK again, and you can see it's now connected correctly to the file. So this is where it becomes fun and where troubleshooting, your adventurous spirit and troubleshooting has to come into play. So I'm going to try and do the same thing with US counties. Set data source, properties, source, set data source. Same thing, brings us up to US counties. And it says layers data source cannot be changed. So in the spirit of wanting to just keep moving forward, I say OK, and it doesn't do anything. So instead, what I'm going to do is actually pull that exact same data over from catalog, over from the portal. So we go over to catalog, click on portal, click on our living atlas icon, do a search for USA counties. We want to be sure and click the generalized one, so click it, right click, add to current map. And there we go. So we can actually just eliminate this. We're going to remove it, right click and remove. So now we have the information on the map that we need. Okay, so going back to the book, I'm going to skip over a lot of the information on 22 and 23 since it's pretty descriptive just about what's going on, give you some orientation. Let's move to page 25. Okay, so this page, this next part is just showing you how to add information or connect files via the catalog, which is actually very important to know how to do. So over here on the right, we have our catalog. We're going to go to project. We're going to click on the arrow next to folders and expand it. So this is important because what we'll do is establish a hierarchy of where the information is pulled from. So on folders, you're going to right click and add a folder connection. So in this case, I'm actually going to connect my cartography folder. So this means everything that's in the cartography folder I can now access through the catalog. You can't get to it unless you're in the, you can't get to the information for the purposes of using an ArcPro unless you do it through catalog. Okay. So this is, if you're ever interested, if you open up the shape files or the map files in just in the regular Windows browser, you'll see that they're composed of hundreds of kind of nonsensically titled folders or files and documents. That's all the stuff that goes into making a shape file, which if you open it up in here, in our catalog, just looks like a nice tidy little single file. So continuing on, I'm going to skip ahead to page 29 on arranging layers. So it says deselect the checkbox. Oh, at first glance, it may appear that you have only one map layer displayed in the map view. This is because both the counties and the state outline layers contain polygon features, and both files are currently using solid shading. When this happens, the polygons on top will obscure features underneath. So when we talk about drawing order, it literally means the order in which these elements are being drawn. And because these are completely opaque, you can't see them. But if we made, say, this top layer, US counties, transparent, we could then see the state outlines underneath them. And that's the cool stuff you can start to do with manipulating your symbology in ArcPro. And likewise, you can actually move these layers around. So you just kind of click on it and move it till you see that you'll have that little no icon. You're like, oh no, I'm not doing it. But then once you move it just the right spot, you get that line that pops up. And that means you can just click and drop it beneath the next item. So as you can see, I'd moved that county's generalized layer, which was orange, underneath states, and now states is on top. You can see it just switched around. So on page 30, she talks about renaming layers. I think it's a good thing, I guess, to know how to do in general, but it's not necessarily that useful. We renamed layers in the last lab by just doing a slow double click. But these instructions tell you how to do it through by doing it through properties. So properties, general, where it says name. I find myself pointing, and I realize you guys can't see me pointing at the screen. You can just rename it through there. And she wants you to rename it US, just name it counties. Okay, so see it change there. And we're also going to change, I'm just going to do it the quick way for US states. We're going to change it to, what does she ask for here? State outline. So that's just much easier to do it that way. So now we want to symbolize layers. Moving on to page 31 at the bottom. For this map, we want the state boundaries to serve as outlines for the counties. So if it's not already on top, bring the state outline layer to the top of the drawing order. It is already on top, so that's taken care of. Beneath each of the map layers in the contents pane is the legend for that layer. So remember, the contents pane is over here. Click once in the colored box for the state line in the contents pane to reveal the symbology pane. So she's saying basically click on that colored square to open up symbology, which just popped up over here on the right side. So this is where we're going to set the characteristics and colors and outlines and stuff for this. So she says we want to be able to see both the state boundaries and the counties. So we're going to change the properties of the state symbol to display just the outline. Switch to properties on this pane if it's not already there. So I'm not going to read these directions verbatim here. Basically, what you want to do is click properties, and under appearance, where it says color, we're going to click on that little arrow and we're going to click on no color. So that's going to make it transparent. All right, and for the outline, she is asking for, I think, to make it a 2 and to make it darker. So we're going to make it black and change the outline width to 2. Click apply at the bottom and it shows up like that. So now we're going to do the counties. So we're going to go over here to the contents pane, click on counties, and once we click on that colored square, it brings us right over there. And what does she want us to do? Though? Change the fill color to white. So if you're not already under properties, go there, and under color, we're going to change it to white. And leave the outline color and width for the moment. Click apply. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to add a little something extra. She wants to create a drop shadow, which is a nice little highlighting cartographic element you can do pretty easily. So we're going to right click on the state outline layer in the contents, and we're going to copy it. We're going to right click just in the pane, on US counties, and we're going to paste it. And it creates a duplicate of it. And drag this layer to the bottom of the drawing order. Doesn't matter which one, just bring one down. So it's at the very bottom. So state outline, counties, and state outline again. And we're going to change its name to drop shadow. It's a good idea to label things exactly what they're for if you're doing duplicates of them for a variety of presentation purposes. So change the outline to gray 30% and 4-point and click apply. So we're going to right click on that outlined square box And we're going to make that outline gray 30%. Forgot to